So you've designed this really cool dungeon. Your party is about to enter into it for the first time and go through all its complex puzzles and traps and all kinds of unique encounters that you have set up. You get to the first room. It's a complex math question that you're very eager to hear your characters figure out. But they don't like math. The characters nor the players really like math at all. So they painstakingly try to figure it out and get the ball rolling and answer the question for you so they can move on to the rest of the dungeon. After several long minutes of constant trial and error, they finally get the answer correct and the door opens and they proceed to the next room. The next room is a whole swath of goblins and kobolds come pouring out, and it's a giant combat scenario. But none of your players really enjoy combat all that much. It's okay here and there, but they want to do more interesting things than just do combat all the time. But after several minutes of combat, they finish that and they proceed to the next room. The next room is a complex riddle-like puzzle that requires you to have some knowledge about the gods and deities of this world. But your players just started playing in this campaign. They don't know the gods and deities. They don't really know much about it at all. The point I'm trying to get at here is that when you're designing a dungeon or some kind of skill challenge, it becomes a very, very difficult balancing act between challenging your player's IQ and their character's IQ. Just because you have a wizard in your party does not mean that any time there is something magical related, it automatically should be deferred to the wizard all the time. What if the player is tired of constantly having all these complex questions asked of him? He just wanted to play a guy that could fling a fireball. For example, if your party finds a little question that says, how much worth is the diamond needed to cast Revivify? And they automatically look to the wizard. Well, the wizard doesn't know because the player doesn't know. And it becomes this awkward situation where maybe the wizard would know, but the player doesn't. But because of that, the DM then holds the question back. Well, if you can't answer it, then you can't proceed. But the player doesn't know, but the wizard has an IQ of 18. Maybe they should know. Is the DM then expected to give a large enough hint to get the wizard's ball rolling? Or maybe they're in a trap that has a bunch of different levers and pulleys that have to be pulled in the perfect sequence. And your player figures it out. And they go, oh, I got it, because this rope is this and this pulley is this, it will do this. And the DM says, well, what's your character's IQ? Well, my intelligence is 5. Then you can't do anything, you don't know how to get out of here. Making puzzles for your players is a very, very delicate balancing act. And there's really no straightforward answer to how to approach this, but the way I've found is that you want to mix in getting the solution to problems both from your character's intelligence and their player's intelligence. That question on how much gold is that diamond worth for Revivify, it's 300 gold. But if the player doesn't know, but you believe and they believe that their character would know because their intelligence or their wisdom is an 18 or something, then you can give them that answer. And for all the pulleys and levers for that intelligence character of 5, if they're not going to be able to figure it out, just give it to them. They had a stroke of genius. They were able to figure it out. You should reward your players for answering your questions. Even if your player's intelligence is higher than that of their characters, it's a stroke of genius. It's a moment of good luck. You should never take that away from them. And as a side note, you should never have progress locked behind a dice roll. If you enter into a room that is stripped down to its bare minimum in terms of what you need to do here, and all it really matters is that you need to roll a natural 20 to proceed, and everyone rolls, and no one gets a natural 20, then everyone's just sitting there on their hands wondering, well, what do we do now? And you, the DM, are going, oh, well, the door opens, because if they can't proceed, they don't get to play, you don't get to play, and everyone's just stuck. If they come to a bridge with no railings that's slicked and very slippery, and every time they cross it, they need to make a dexterity saving throw, and they just keep slipping and falling and slipping and falling and slipping and falling, you need to change your situation a little bit. Because if it's only dependent on, well, eventually they'll roll high enough to cross it, nothing is certain. They may sit there and roll for an entire hour without being able to cross that bridge, and they won't want to play anymore, no matter how cool your dungeon is. Have dice rolls be skill challenges, of course, but do not make them the end-all be-all for proceeding forward in your dungeon. Because if they don't get that dice roll, then they're stuck, you're stuck, and all they can do is just keep rolling and hopefully it comes up positive. And that's not fun. That's not interesting. So at the end of the day, when designing your dungeon and its unique complex encounters or traps or questions, think about what your characters in your game are like and what your players are like, and try and tailor your puzzles to your players a little bit more than your characters. Your players are the ones that are going to remember that dungeon. Your players are the ones that are going to try to figure out how to get through it. Sure, the characters are piloted by those players, but if your players have fun, then that's what matters. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to tell your friends. If you didn't, you tell me. Thank you to my Patreons, and I'll see you guys all in the next video tomorrow. Skål!